You have within you the power to create a series of ideas for yourself that will erase obstacles to your highest calling. When you imagine that you're free of any need to use excuses, you'll ultimately act on what you're imagining. So practice the process of envisioning precisely what your life would look like and feel like if it were impossible to enlist your excuse patterns. A good way to begin is by getting accustomed to visualizing exactly who you are as if you've already arrived. Seeing who you want to be is already here. Our poet friend, Mr. Blake, is saying that we imagined these self-limiting ideas before they became facts in our lives. Memetics, genetics, early childhood reinforcements, cultural conditioning, and years of thinking limiting thoughts join forces to become the excuses that have come to feel like reality. If William Blake's observation is true for you, its corollary applies as well. In other words, if you make the excuses begone shift and hold fast to its ideas, then you prove to yourself just how powerful your imagination is. This is why I included the words already here concerning the way you want to see yourself. For all intents and purposes, what you actively imagine is authentically and undeniably already here. So you can absolutely change from self-defeating excuses to self-enhancing actions. Once your new thinking habits are truly in place, it's the same as saying that you're already actualizing what you want. When I was in my early 20s, I used the imagination practice on the excuse, I'm too tired. I'd heard this so frequently that it finally became a mind virus I mimicked and employed regularly. It was a convenient but debilitating excuse because thinking and talking about how tired I was made me more fatigued than I actually was. The more I said the words, I'm tired, the more my energy seemed to be depleted, even when there was no physical reasons behind this. One morning, after listening to a friend tell me that he was too exhausted to carry out a planned weekend retreat, I decided to end my use of this excuse permanently. I pledged to never again tell others or myself how tired I was, and I began imagining myself in possession of unlimited energy. I didn't change my sleep habits or take energy supplements or change my lifestyle. All I did was imagine myself as a high-energy person. I was able to change the way I viewed myself in relationship to fatigue and started to see myself as a never-tired person. This all started with a new thought, which was placed first in my imagination, and to this day, some 40 years later, I've steadfastly refused to even think I'm tired. One of Ralph Waldo Emerson's essays includes a line that has always made an impact on me. Imagination, he said, is a very high sort of seeing. To me, this is seeing with a capital S. Seeing myself with boundless energy all those years ago allowed me to eliminate the obstacles of fatigue and energy depletion, and I created a new me in those imaginative moments. It will be difficult, and it will take a long time. These two similar excuses are frequently substituted for action. Now, imagine that you're incapable of creating these thoughts. In the same way that you can't imagine the mental activity of a jellyfish without ears or eyes that lives miles below the ocean surface, neither can you conceive of a task as being difficult or taking a long time. So if it were absolutely impossible for you to think this way, what would your life be like? Whatever it is that you'd like to accomplish, be it becoming an artist, creating your own musical composition, starting a new business, repairing your relationship with your parents or your spouse or anyone else, building a new home, getting into physical shape, anything at all, how would your world change if you couldn't even conceive of the idea that it would be difficult or take a long time? Without these excuses, what would life look like? It's a safe bet that you'd immediately initiate action propelling you in the direction of the fulfillment of your dreams. You'd talk to others who had similar kinds of dreams and then emerge successfully. You'd have a lot of energy, and you'd be actively engaged in the process of living the life you imagine. You'd attract synchronistic assistance and notice the right people, the right events, and the right circumstances persistently showing up. Why? Because you'd be acting just like the source of all creation does. You'd be aligned with a universe that says, yes, you can, and gives you the tools to prove it. You'd have no hesitation, no fear that something would be difficult or take too long. You'd happily do rather than explain or complain. And then, without these excuses, how would you feel? With these limitations completely out of the way, let me hazard a guess that you'd feel ecstatic and finally completely on purpose. A sense of freedom would delight you because avoidance of your true dharma would no longer exist. You'd feel enormous contentment rather than worrying about what you're avoiding or where you're going. There would be no focus on your destination, since too long would no longer exist for you, and the now of the journey would provide the success and happiness you desire. You'd experience a great deal of bliss because you'd be guided by your creativity and initiative rather than fear of disappointment, and joy would rule your life. And without these excuses, what alternative thoughts would you have? Rather than focusing on what you can't do because it's difficult and takes a long time, you'd think like this: this is definitely something that I can and will create for myself. I know I can do anything I put my mind to. I anticipate that this is within my ability to readily accomplish it. I have no fear because I recognize that whatever guidance and assistance I require is available. I'm excited, thrilled, and elated about fulfilling this dream. I realize that the thoughts I have are meshed with enthusiasm and passion, and that nothing can stop me. In fact, I'm certain that whatever I need to actualize my dreams is already on its way. I contentedly watch for what the universe sends me.